And when your head is down and they think they've got you, that's when you become tricky and alter your tactics.
Don't touch that dial. It is time for HyJack'D Radio.
Listen, can you run a board tonight?
Man.
Yes or no?
The whole night?
I thought we taught somebody. Oh no, they never set their date up with steps.
Only here on the Clown Media.
Yeah, boy, you take forever.
You good though?
Message.
Hey, how you guys doing? You're tuned into the HyJack'D Radio Show, hosted by your main man, Heavy, as you probably heard already on the introduction thing. Hope you guys are having a jazzy, sassy Wednesday. You know, enjoying your day, enjoying the weather. It's a very beautiful day out today. Like this is like how spring should be the entire time. Like not hot, but warm, but breezy. Like hoodie weather, baby. Like, this is the perfect example of hoodie or windbreaker or whatever other form of light jacket weather. But this is not a weather show. This is a HyJack'D Radio show. I'm sorry. We have a pretty entertaining show for you guys today. We're gonna talk about some hot topics, some news-worthy things. Some reality show gossip. I don't talk about that much, but something did happen today that I did find quite funny involving your main man Benzino. First and foremost, before I go any further, allow me to just thank my sponsors, # clothing company, uncommonrealist.com. Almost said the wrong thing. What up, you big? Snap Photography Studios, Quiet Records, Raining ENT, and also Printworks down on Boston Street. Go down there and holler at Mr. Kevin. Get yourself, like I said, if you need flyers, business cards, t-shirts printed up, # shirts are made there now. So, you know, like I said, if you need some high quality, high maintenance stuff done real quick, it's a good turnaround, go on down to Printworks. So yeah, we're going to rock it out there. Also, Be Exposed Photography. You can check them out on Facebook. Be More Exposed. I'm sorry, I said the wrong name. Hopefully you guys ignore that first one. But it's Be More Exposed Photography. I don't know. I'm gonna get better reading these sponsors. You know, as it goes on. I feel like there's gonna be like more sponsors. Like the whole first segment of the show is gonna be me reading off a list. But I'm okay with that because that's where the money comes from. Yeah, like I said, we got a good show today. We're gonna talk about a bunch of different things. There's no guest tonight, so there won't be an Ask an Expert, unfortunately. But we do have the sex position of the day coming up. Also, some hot video game news for all my nerds out there. All my music fans also. We're going to talk about the Met Gala. That's also something people... Now, I've never seen footage inside of the Met Gala, so I'm not entirely sure what it is. I know it's a party. I know what happens inside the Met, which is a museum. So I'm pretty sure a lot of weird, eyes wide shut sex stuff happens in there. But, you know, they don't tell us that because why would they? They let us see the whole runway. The whole outside is lit. They'll let us see all of that. Once you're inside those doors, though, it's only for the privileged. And one day I hope to become one of these privileged few. Yeah. So I'm going to say, we're going to talk about men and women, some things that men and women go through in life. It may be controversial because my views and opinions do not always coincide with the rest of the world's views and opinions, but that's kind of what makes the show, that's kind of what makes us pop, that's what makes us special. Simply the best. Better than all the rest. Your boy Donald Trump, and I say your boy because I didn't vote for him. I voted for Hillary because she was the best of the two options. But he's on the record as saying something about the Civil War, and I will go further in detail on that later. But he pretty much basically had his question. It's not that he didn't know what the Civil War was. I just feel like he doesn't really know exactly what the Civil War is, if that makes any sense. Like it's like I know what a hot dog is, but I'm not entirely sure how it's made or where it comes from. So he has hot dog knowledge of the Civil War, and that's a new term, hot dog knowledge. So you know what something is, no idea where it comes from, but you know we enjoy it anyway. A lot of people are upset and angry about this comment, him not knowing what it is. I'm no longer surprised about anything Donald Trump says or does. Like, he's Donald Trump. You guys put a reality TV businessman on, in a presidential office. So I really, nothing surprises me at this point. Yeah. So we're gonna get into that. Jimmy Kimmel, if you know who Jimmy Kimmel is, he's been facing a lot of backlash the past couple days over some statements he made about healthcare. And I do agree with what he said, so I can't say that I can't disagree or feel any type of way about his statements. I'm more upset at how people are responding, which I will also get into that a smidge later after we come back from our first break. Push that on, but Cinco de Mayo is coming up for all of those. It's the 3rd of May, so yes, 2 days. Hold up, what day is that on? Cinco de Mayo. Oh, that's a Friday. That's clutch. So yeah, Cinco de Mayo comes on a Friday, so you can go out and drink disrespectfully for the you can disrespect Spanish heritage all day and not care about what happens the next day unless you work Saturday, which you may or may not do. That's not my problem. That's your thing. But yeah, like I said, that and a host of other topics will be discussed on this lovely edition of Hijack Radio. We're going to talk about Mr. Chappelle. I was watching the Chappelle show today, so this inspired me to bring up the question: what are your top 3 Chappelle show skits? And you can I put it on Facebook, but you can definitely feel free to text in your responses. The number is 443-71-CROWN. That's 443-712-7696. So shoot me a text, and I may read your answers on the air. We'll see how it shakes out. The time is 6:13. I'm going to take a really, really quick music break to get myself something to drink and to let you guys hear some jams. And I will be right back. I will be right back because I know I'm already a little bit behind. But yeah, Hijack Radio. We'll be right back after these jams and tunes. Stay locked. And we're back. Hijack Radio. Thank you for tuning in, listening in, sitting in, standing in, whatever you're doing. Listening to me, I appreciate it. First thing I'm going to just jump right in to talk about. Well, no, I talked about this on Monday. So, as you know, there was there was a lot of flooding and terrible damage done in the Midwest this past weekend. And now that it's kind of drying off and they're trying to rebuild, there's supposed to be more bad weather coming. So the little bit of relief they got from Monday to today is going to be over soon because there's supposed to be more heavy rain coming. So like I said, if you know anybody in the Midwestern region, Missouri, especially Missouri, because I think it's been hitting them the worst. I think they still have like 242 roads that are closed. And like I said, the water is gone. But some of the streets broke off, some of them sunk in, some of them are still covered with like debris from the river. So I don't know how they're gonna. I'm guessing this has happened before. Like I said, now they haven't had flooding this bad in like a century or 100 years. For those who don't know what a century is, but I still feel like they have like some kind of a plan for flooding and things like this to happen. Now I will say it's not as bad as it is over in other countries like Venice, which is a city that's pretty much built on water. Given I guess the climate change, the water level is rising, which is making things way harder for them than it has to be. But like I said, they're prepared. They have special doors on their houses where a panel slides down to prevent water from flooding in. Certain stores, like bookstores and such, have gone to such extremes of putting their books inside of bathtubs, which are still raised up on elevated surfaces. So they're just trying to beat the water level that constantly rises. So it's like every year, it's like, okay, fine, we figured out we got to keep stuff 60 inches high off the ground. And then next year, flooding has reached 65. So now you got to go up another 5 inches. And eventually you're going to run out of stuff to pile your things on. So at some point you're going to either start taking losses or just relocate. But it's hard to move an entire city unless, you're some kind of vicious dictator who wants to go in and do it the old-fashioned way with bullets and gun smoke. But I doubt anybody would do that just to stop the flooding from happening in Venice. Now, they're working on a new form of technology which has just recently been installed. It's I guess it's kind of a dam, but not real. What's the best way to describe it? It's kind of like a self-building dam. There's panels under the water that stay there, and once they rise as the water level rises, so they kind of block or deter the water from, when the tide gets over a certain amount of meters, it kind of keeps the water from going too far in, while still allowing boats and all that to travel. It's pretty, I saw it on Bill Nye. And side note, as an adult, I feel like that's really cool that I can say stuff like that after not seeing him or not being able to say stuff about the show for 20 some odd years. He has a new show on Netflix called Bill Nye Saves the World, and he's not paying me to say this, but I just enjoy the show that much that I will plug it because it's like I said, it's like the old show, but it's for us adults. Like he said, like, and I watched it. It was like something he showed how to extract strawberry DNA. Now I don't know why me as a human being, citizen with no laboratory or genetic knowledge, would need to know how to extract DNA from a strawberry. But he said that these are items you can find in your home, so I felt obligated to kind of try it myself. So I tried it myself, and it kind of worked. Like I said, I don't know what to do with strawberry. Like I did it, and I threw all the stuff away because I didn't know what to do after that. I just wanted to see if it would work. But if I ever find a scientist who knows a way to, who knows how to genetically alter strawberries, I'll say, hey, I can help. I know how to extract the DNA, thanks to Bill Nye. But yeah, back to Venice. I saw the technology for this dam that they just got built. They said it was like a couple $100 billion euros, and I don't know the exchange rate from euros to American dollars because I'm an ignorant American and I don't really care what the exchange rate is unless I'm going over there. So yeah, but either way, it's still I think their dollar is worth a little bit more than ours, so that's still like a pretty epic amount of money. So yeah, again, and all that I ties back, just goes back to my original point of saying, please keep the Midwest and all those people in your prayers. I think from the area between Oklahoma and Ohio has been getting hit like viciously with bad weather of sorts. So your president, Donald Trump, aka Donald Trump, aka how the hell did he become president? He asked a very good question. He wants to know why the Civil War couldn't just be worked out. Like, why couldn't people sit down in a room and just talk this whole Civil War thing out? I mean, not like it was about slavery or economic expansion of the North and South, but things like that. Those are small potatoes to a guy like Trump. That's the kind of thing you can sit in a room over a table, maybe over some soup, or I guess whatever was hot back then. I guess like beans and coffee. I guess that was a meal back then. You can sit over some beans and coffee and talk about this whole slavery thing, and try to come to a common ground. And I think they did come to a common ground. They said slavery is gone. We can't keep slavery on paper, but you can still treat black people like you treated them when they were slaves, but you just can't call them slaves. So I would call that a win-win for the whites. But Donald Trump he just said, why was there a civil war? Why couldn't it have been worked out? And I feel as though as a 97-year-old man in America, you should know why the Civil War was, why it happened, because you or someone was a part of it. But then again, maybe, people do say he's an immigrant because he wasn't born in the USA. So maybe, maybe the Civil War happened. Maybe he was, he was doing other stuff. He might have been on the Titanic. And, he wasn't able to hear about the Civil War. I know those are different periods in time. I'm just trying to make jokes. That's not the point here. We're not here for that. But yeah, I don't know. How does somebody become president without a working knowledge of the Civil War? I won't say it's one of the biggest wars in our history, because, it's not, because it was in the same country. But that fact alone, the fact that it all happened within the same country, within the same 13 colonies, it should be one of those things that you just know. Like, I, as a non-president, know a fair share about the Civil War, thanks to my public school education and a couple documentaries I watched on PBS. But yeah, I know why it couldn't be worked out, because when it comes to that kind of money, like, you got to think, slavery wasn't just about making black people work. They built the entire economy of the South, and I'm not gonna say the South, because that the entire economy of America was built on slavery. Like, if there was no slavery, America would have been damn near third world for a really long time, because you have it's a whole labor force building, working. All this export, all this tobacco and stuff is not going to just stay in the South. It's getting sent all over the country. But it's getting picked right in the South. All this cotton and stuff is getting sent all over the country, being sold to stores and stuff like that. So the entire economy as a whole of this country was built on slavery. And the Civil War wanted to, well, I'm not going to say it wanted to stop that, because I'm not going to give a full history lesson, because I don't have all the facts. But the Civil War kind of put a big dent in that. So that's kind of, like I said, him being so money hungry as he is, on some aspect, either as a businessman or as an American citizen or as the president, somewhere in that lineup, you should know what and where the Civil War was and how and why it happened. And no, we're not talking about the Marvel Civil War, which I also feel was, I get that that's what it was called in the comic, but I feel like that's mild propaganda as well, because it's not really a civil war if it's happening within the same group of people. Like, you can't call a bunch of superheroes fighting each other a civil war. You should have called it the Infinity. Oh, well, that's the name of the next one. So you should have called that the Infinity War and say a civil war for the human stuff. I'm tired of superheroes trying to take our human rights. They want to be. You pick a side. You either want to be enhanced or you want to be regular. And I'm talking to you, Superman. Stop trying to fool us with these glasses and this coat. We know it's you. Just walk around in the suit. Deadpool does it. Deadpool walks around fully suited all the time. Why? Because we know who he is. You can't hide that. Well, that and his face. Which I also noticed. This is way off topic. But they got a lot of ugly superheroes. I think Deadpool is the only one that's ugly. And he only got that because of experimentation. Everybody else is mildly attractive. And I don't think that's very fair. Even Bruce Banner, as a nerdy scientist, they didn't make him look like a dork. He looked like Superman with glasses on. He's like, hey, I'm a scientist. Look at my strong jaw and shoulders. Yeah, I lift weights sometimes. Don't let that deter from the fact that I'm a science genius. Even Tony Stark, well, I guess the movie version, I guess he was kind of out of shape. But even then, he had hands. But that's not the point. The point is, Donald Trump didn't know what the Civil War was. Donald Trump did not know what the Civil War was. And I am disgusted by that. Also, in recent news headlines, Jimmy Kimmel, host of the Jimmy Kimmel Show, has fallen under a lot of backlash from Republicans and other conservatives because he has now the backstory. He has his own like late night talk show, and he opened the show with a monologue telling just giving a monologue or a bit of a stand up bit. But this one wasn't that funny. He was talking about how his infant son has a heart condition, and he feels like the Affordable Care Act, if they take this away, it's gonna make things. Now he can afford he can afford care for his son because he's worked really hard over his career to make enough money to kind of to help get doctors that can look at him. But for the regular person the regular person that works a 9 to 5, whose child could be born with this exact same heart condition, they don't have these kind of options. So their option is to either do the best they can or make their child as comfortable as possible while they're here. And you shouldn't his thoughts were you shouldn't have to deal with those kind of options as a parent, especially with a newborn. And Republicans are upset at him because and one in particular, a man by the name of Joe Walsh, is quoted as tweeting, because politicians tweet now, I quote, "Sorry, Jimmy Kimmel, your sad story does not obligate me or anybody else to pay for someone else's health care. Got no problem with Jimmy Kimmel tearing up and getting political. Got a big problem with we need the government run health care because of my sad story." Now, I understand that Republicans and conservatives, by reputation, are some cold-hearted MFers. But that right there, that's like, why would you even, even if you don't agree with what he said, why would you say it like that? There's so many, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Why would you even come at him like that? Like, if Jimmy Kimmel wasn't an astute white person, that's the kind of thing that they get you pulled up on and shot on Facebook Live. That's just real. Like, it's, as far as, different shows for different folks, I guess. But I also noticed that people kind of pick and choose who to say this kind of stuff about. Because I guarantee if another, like I said, if I say, I don't know, if an Ice Cube or someone like that said something exactly what Jimmy Kimmel said, people would have responded, but they wouldn't have addressed, they wouldn't have been like, oh, your sad story doesn't make me feel any type of da-da-da-da-da. They'd just disagree with his point and kept it pushing. But like I said, Trump, a lot of politicians in general have started to take to Twitter because I'm guessing a lot of their voters or whoever they're trying to reach out to follow them on Twitter, which I think is weird, but whatever, that's not my place to say. But a lot of them like to get on Twitter and go on these rants of ignorance, and that's really what they are. They're just rants of ignorance. They can spew whatever nonsense they want, and I guess under the guise of, oh, it's just Twitter, it's not that serious. But no, because now you're quoted on news sites and in public as that's something you said because, well, your face with a check mark is right beside it, so it's verified that you said this. But yeah, I don't get what I understand not wanting to pay for someone else's health care, but it's not so it's not like somebody gets sick and they send you the bill. It's it's taxes. Everybody pays taxes. Like, we're all a part of the tax paying, we're all part of the tax paying population. So it's not, I don't feel like, oh, I shouldn't have to pay for this because I don't care, I pay taxes. Like, I can't not pay taxes. So I feel like you can sneak whatever you want into the tax code and there's really nothing I myself can do about it because, well, what could I do? What would there be for me to do if I wanted to? Is my whole thing. But yeah, that's just, like I said, that's just a minor thing that's just something I was thinking about. Jimmy Kimmel's coming under fire. And it's not just Joe Walsh, but Joe Walsh's tweet did get picked up because it was very direct and it was, it was kind of thrown forward. Let me see, what else? Another person, Charles Hurt also also said so after his, what did he say? I mean, really, Jimmy, does your newborn child not mean more to you than petty politics? How do you look at the miracle of your child and think partisan politics? He's not thinking politics. He's thinking healthcare. If you have a sick anybody, child, mother, daughter, wife, if they're sick, then healthcare is going to come into your mind because, well, that's just what, obviously, that's what you think. He's just able to empathize. That doesn't make it, there's nothing wrong with being an empath. Everybody should have some form of empathy in them somehow, some way. Oh, I missed the call. Did not even hear the phone ring. Well, we'll call him back in a second. But yeah. So yeah, like I said, Jimmy Kimmel was coming under fire over the nonsense. And I don't know, like there's just a lot, like Republicans and conservatives as a whole always perplex me with the things they say and or do. Like I can't say I'm surprised, but I'm always a little bit taken aback by just like the blatant ignorance that they always display, like over topics like this. Like I get it. Paying for healthcare somehow affects your pockets, even though you're probably richer than half the people half the people that are affected by this. But that's not a point. You need to figure out how to keep your money in your pockets, and I get that. I understand it. Well, no, I don't understand it. I get it, but I don't understand it because I'm broke. Never been rich. Maybe when I get rich, my ideas will change. But as of right now, I ain't with it. I don't condone this. But we're gonna take another quick music break. Got some more topics coming up. We're gonna talk about some upcoming movies. There's a new Alien coming out. Guardians of the Galaxy 2 just came out. Gonna talk about that a little bit. And like I said, after these brief music breaks, we'll be right back. HyJack'D Radio. Stay locked. You don't want to miss anything. Trust me.